Two Wheels is proudly powered by Broadlink, delivering serious bandwidth for serious business.
Whatever happened to the middleweight superbike class? If we all cast our minds back, we can remember bikes like Suzuki's GSX-R 750, Yamaha had an OW01, Honda with an RC30 and Kawasaki with a ZX-R7. The only surviving model that we can think of, unless we're wrong, is the Suzuki GSX-R 750. But now the Italians have come back into the middleweight class with this brand new F3 800 MV Agusta. I've just picked up this F3 800 from Cayenne, the official importers for MV Agusta in South Africa. Now you think we'd run off to a racetrack with this bike, because undoubtedly it'd be brilliant around a racetrack, but what about the road? Let's have a look at this. Lights, mirrors and indicators. The vast majority of the riders that buy this bike will ride it on the road and not necessarily the racetrack. So we thought we'd rip it around the country lanes of South Africa to see if a middleweight superbike is still a good road bike.
The middleweight class used to be, shall I say, uncomplicated, but MV has certainly moved on a bit with this massive electronics package. If you like fiddling with iPods and stuff like that, you'll love this. 8 levels of traction control, 4 levels of torque control, engine braking control, quick shifter control, everything the control actually sent me mad. But it will still wheelie, or better than that. The chassis on the new F3 is certainly a work of art. It's made of 2 separate parts. One is chrome and moly steel tubing, and the rear end is a cast piece. Apparently this makes it stiff but flexible for superb grip around the racetrack, which doesn't really matter on the road. One good thing about riding a superbike at my age is that you can hide your little beer belly on the tank, if you know what I mean, gentlemen. Anyway, humour aside, I was actually thinking as I rode around on this, who would actually buy this bike? But certainly the big appeal is the exclusivity of owning an MV Agusta, which is now available to the masses. Thanks to the importer and distributor of MV Agusta in South Africa, which is Cayenne. Anyway, let's have a look at the engine of this new F3 800. It's actually exactly the same engine as the 675 F3, which Cam Peterson won the National Supersport Championship on this year, so we know it's a good one already. Interestingly, the pistons are exactly the same size and exactly the same pistons. All MV Agusta have done is increase the stroke of this engine to make it 800cc instead of 675. Quite easy, but the effect is 30 horsepower more. Can you believe it? And of course more torque, when 675s don't really make much torque. Claimed horsepower now of this engine, 150 horsepower from an 800cc. And interestingly, this engine runs backwards. Can you believe it? In a counterclockwise direction. Why would MV do that? Well, according to them, it makes the directional changes quicker around the track. And if you don't believe me, you should have a look inside Jorge Lorenzo's bike, because that does exactly the same. All in all, this is one severely good complete engine package, and ideal for the road as well as the racetrack. Well, there's another form of the triple. The MV Agusta name been around for many years. F3 meaning 3-cylinder, shown off by those 3 exhausts, distinctive to say the least. And of course, gorgeous Italian styling, emitting from every possible angle. Sax suspension from Germany, interestingly. Marzocchi 43mm fully adjustable forks, and of course one of the most comprehensive instrument pods in the business. Quick shifter, which means you can change gear without pulling the clutch or shutting the throttle, and a single-sided swing arm. which makes rear wheel changing much faster if you have a spanner big enough.
So does this particular MV Agusta cut the mustard? Yes, it does. You can still ride it every day to and from work. Little bit hard on the suspension, obviously, because it's a race bike, but you can adjust that out, so don't worry. By now, you must be wondering how much this bike is. Well, you're going to get 10 Rand change out, 160,000 Rand. And before you all say, oh, that's a lot of money for an 800cc, it's not. To be honest, for 160,000 Rand, you could just put this bike in your lounge and stare at it. It is without doubt, I think, the best looking, prettiest current superbike on the road. And no one complained at all if you spend $85 million on a Van Gogh painting that you can just stare at and it does absolutely nothing. And he chopped his ear off. But you don't have to chop your ear off at all. The best thing you can do is get to Cayenne, see their entire MV range, and if you ask the guys nicely, you'll even be able to ride this exact bike and be convinced that the 800 class or middleweight superbike class is still among us, which is a good thing. So until now, MV Agusta, nice job, fantastic bike, love it.